Hey everybody, Corey here, and today I just want to talk a little bit about QA automation in the age of AI. Things have changed a lot in the past 3 or 4 years in terms of AI. There's been tons of innovation, and it's really impacted the way that we build products. Another thing that it's really impacted is the ability to test and maintain quality in your products, particularly with AI automation. And there's a few important hot takes that we should go through to really talk about what it looks like right now, what it will look like in the future, and what it'll look like very long term. And these are obviously just my predictions, but hopefully this adds value to your understanding. So let's start with just talking about QA is changing fast. It's changing very fast, and it's really reshaping how we test software. And really two different distinct approaches are emerging. And one thing is really, how do you approach those two different methods, and what do you really invest your time and money into? So there's really two main ways that we see testing going on right now in the age of AI. One is the scripted automation, which is using things like Playwright and Appium and Selenium and these other tools. And then the other one is exploratory testing with AI. The scripted automation has been around for a long time, but with AI, you can basically automate a lot of that, basically the creation and maintenance of a lot of those tests. Maybe not all of them, but many of them you can. And this started with Copilot, with the autocomplete at the end of 2022, and then GPT and all these other products that have came up. Creating new tests it's pretty easy with AI. And then maintaining those tests are also pretty easy. If you have a new Jira ticket that's completed, you can look at the diff and you can have AI spit out some new tests or update some old ones. And then the exploratory one, this is actually using testing agents. If you're aware of that concept, you can basically have an AI agent go through and use your product. You can, as an engineer or app manager, you can build skills that tell the agent how they're supposed to use the product and what they expect to see. And that's a very non-deterministic approach. But where we normally see testing agents succeed and thrive is exploratory testing. And you do need these skills to tell the agent what to do. But the deterministic part isn't necessarily as strong with testing agents in the current state. Exploratory testing is just more like you have skills that show how to use it, and the agent just goes through and uses it, and it will just say, oh, this looks off, or maybe this UI is not looking good, or maybe it's this thing is blocking the window, or other kind of things that it can just flag and say this doesn't look right. But it's not necessarily deterministic, the scripting automation is. So really two approaches that we currently see fitting in the modern day. It's the scripted automation, it's AI assisted, and it's exploratory testing via testing agents. These really solve different problems. So for scripted, it's catching regressions. If you do a full regression of the test, it can execute every single one and tell you whether they're passing and failing. It's obviously very deterministic. It's either it fully succeeds or it does not. And you can also run it every PR, every deploy. And it's what it doesn't catch is bugs that no one wrote a test for, or also just general knowledge of a product, or what looks right, what doesn't look right. And then agents, finding unknown unknowns, bug reports, judgment calls, nightly pre-release features, reliable release gating. So it's finding things that deterministic tests can't. We think both things are true here. The AI testing agents have a lot of desire just because it's a revolutionary type of technology. And it's really desirable. It's really tempting to try that out. But we really don't think the cost and benefit map works currently with those. The token usage is still really high for these AI agents to go out there and use the product, and the quality is still debatable. That could change over time, and we do think there is a path in the long term, which is our second point. We think eventually you will get to the point where you have these testing agents that will be maintaining these test scripts. with Playwright and Selenium and Appium. So long term, likely we see these testing agents that will go through and use the product using the skills that you built with Claude or Cursor, and it'll maintain this test suite. And it uses the test suite for the deterministic piece, but then it also does the exploratory testing on top of that. So a little bit more on the short-term reality. So yeah, the token cost per run is pretty expensive. Even with 4 or 5 Sonnet, it's $1 for an average size app per test run. And if you're using 4.7 Opus, which is the latest model as per this recording, it's about 50% more than that. So it can really increase. And if it's a larger app, the costs are exponential. There can be some false positives. That's just what you see with AI. It doesn't get everything right. Sometimes it'll report a bug that's not, and it requires a human to go through and look at that. There's a lot of non-determinism, so it's not necessarily true or false. It's subjective. And then the integrations, they're getting better, but they still need some work, I would say. Just an example on the cost side. This is just an example of a scripted Playwright, what we estimate the cost per month per run. and then with the agent testing, it's about 10x more expensive. This is just 4 or 5 Sonnet. With 4.7 Opus, you're likely looking at about $800,000 a month. This is assuming 300 runs per month via PRs or regressions, etc. Scripted automation is the boring winner in the current state. It's deterministic, it's cheap, it's scalable, it's very reliable currently. I think the key thing for teams is use the AI to supplement and augment that experience. So you should still have a test suite, but you can use AI to maintain that test suite and write those quicker. So your cost in terms of QA is a lot less than it used to be. But it's not fully replacing QA. It's just augmenting. Now, long term, things could change. So in 35 years, there's a lot that's changing. Every few months, you get these big, massive updates. But a few different forces that could change the math. One is you get better, cheaper models. So we've seen that over time, these models are getting better and better. And over time, they will get cheaper and cheaper, and that could flip the map. Tighter integrations. So we see in the future there being these full operating systems where an AI agent can go through, it can build its own test. It can look at your project management tool like Jira, and it can look at the new tickets coming through, and it can look at those and then update your test suites automatically. And then that way your regressions are fully up to date. And then the agents will start generating their own deterministic test. So the agent will actually be maintaining your Playwright scripts and updating those and deleting those and etc. Eventually, with the better integrations and the better and cheaper models, you could see AI agents operating like this. They will be building the deterministic tools. So that's where we kind of see this going in the long term. From 1 to 2 layers, today it's 2 distinct layers. Near term, agents are supplements. They're augmentation of your test. Long term, we are looking at agents that absorb the scripted layer and they fully take it over. Really, we see 3 moves for engineering leaders. One is they invest heavy in AI automation, AI-assisted scripting automation. So if you're not already using Claude Code and Cursor and these other tools, you should be, or your engineers should be doing that. And they should be using these tools to maintain and update your testing suites. If you want to look into the AI agents, we recommend small agent pilots. I would start with exploratory testing, and you probably do that ad hoc instead of on PR. Maybe before a big release, you go and execute an exploratory test, etc. So it can pick up things that maybe you weren't thinking about before. And then watch for inflection points. You can see these models getting really cheaper, getting better. I continue to look at that and look at some of these different AI tools that can better integrate with all these offerings. The boring layer wins today and the agents will win tomorrow, but our recommendation is you plan for both. All right, that was it for this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to help.